everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Poe, and today I am starting a new type of vlog, a short story reading vlog. So I had a couple of people recently mention that they really like when I make vlogs, and Reija at the book Finch, who I will link below, recommended that I do some themed reading vlogs. So I thought it would be a lot of fun to do a reading vlog for reading a bunch of short stories, especially because if I read short stories that aren't part of a collection or magazine issue, I don't talk about them on my channel. There are quite a lot of authors in especially SFF who have so many different short stories that I would like to read. And in particular, there are a couple of authors who only have short stories. They don't actually have any novels out. So I thought this would be a ton of fun, and it would give me a chance to do more vlogs, because normally when I do a weekend reading vlog or a travel vlog, those are very time specific, and I'm trying to get them up very soon after the weekend or the travel event. But with the short story ones, I can kind of take a little bit more time to record over the course of a couple of weeks, and also to kind of take my time editing. Vlogs take quite a bit of editing. So I'm gonna go ahead this time and focus on reading short stories by A.T. Greenblatt, who I've been meaning to read more of forever. So A.T. Greenblatt is a mechanical engineer, and she kind of does that as her day job and then writes a bunch of SFF, short stories and novelettes, as her kind of passion. She is such a cool person. I've seen her speak on panels at Worldcon before, really fascinating. And I've read a couple of her nonfiction essays as well as short stories and novelettes. She has a novelette that is nominated for a Hugo this year, which is, I believe, Burn, or the Episodic Life of Sam Wells as a Super, and it is my top ranked one. I absolutely loved it. She also has just such a, I don't know what to call it, just a very hopeful and fun writing style. I really, really like her writing, and I've been meaning to read more of her short stories. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my time, read through maybe 5 or 6 of her short stories. All of them will be ones that I'm choosing that are available to read for free online. So I will put the links of those below in case you're interested in reading some of her fiction as well, if any of these sound interesting to you. And I'll insert a bunch of live clips as well, so that this can be just kind of a fun, low-key vlog. So I hope you guys will enjoy this, and I will check in with you once I have read something. Okay, so I have read a couple of A.T. Greenblatt stories now, so I wanted to check in and tell you what I thought of them. The first one that I read was Questions Asked in the Belly of the World, published in September 2021 on Tor.com. So this is a fantastic story. I really, really loved it. It is kind of a science fiction type of story, although it unfolds as you go through and figure out what exactly is going on. But we follow a couple who live in this world where everything around them is kind of like mushroom based. So their world has a lot of mushrooms growing, and the people have this sort of symbiotic relationship with the land where they eat different mushrooms and things from the earth, and then that gives them some inner light, but then they have to feed that light back into the earth. So it's some sort of symbiotic relationship. And the main character that we follow starts having an issue where he's not able to give that light back. And he thinks that perhaps his inner voice is actually fading. And in this world, that's kind of a death sentence. If your inner voice fades, then you no longer can give back to the earth. You're not participating. And also, this world is very interested in producing artwork. And really contributing to art and to society. And so it's sort of his journey and his wife's journey as they try to figure out what's going on and try to find a way to survive it. I really loved the themes in this. There's so much about sort of societal expectations and how you work within society and what happens if you do something different from society. So much about artwork, and it's just beautifully written. I thought this was such a lovely story, and I loved that there is a couple as the main protagonists. That was just wonderful. So I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, and I think this is very likely going to make my nominations list for the Hugos for next year. I definitely recommend it. The other story I read was The Family in the Adit, published in April of 2021 in Nightmare Magazine. So this was one where I wasn't 100% sure what to expect going in because it's in Nightmare Magazine, which is like a horror magazine, and I don't do well with horror, but I kind of wanted to give it a try and just see what A.T. Greenblatt does with horror. So this was actually really fun. It's a very short story, and it basically is told from the perspective of a villain, basically. So we have some really interesting world building in here where there is some sort of mine where lots of people go, and it's a very bad place, and they try to escape through this adit, which is like a house corridor thing that leads to the outside. But there is a family that lives there, and the family has a husband who is kind of in charge, and he's not a great guy. And the story is told from the wife's perspective, who is very complicit in what is going on. And it is fascinating. I love the perspective, the narrative style. I love the world building, the creepiness of it. And just the way that the story unfolds is a lot of fun. It does have a little bit of body horror towards the end of the story, which wasn't so much my taste, but I loved the creepy vibes, and I just really liked that perspective of it being told from kind of a villain's point of view and what it says about the characters. So this was a fun one, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. So those are the 2 that I have read so far, and I will check in with you again once I have read some more. Okay, so I've read a couple more A.T. Greenblatt stories, so I wanted to check in with you. I read The Memory of a Memory is a Spirit, published in February 2021 in Lightspeed magazine. So this is a story of a woman who is returning to an island that she grew up on, an island that is magical, that has magical plants and sort of magical spirits. And she was the caretaker of this island for a long time, but left many years ago when she met a sailor and fell in love and moved into sort of the real world. But now sort of things in the real world haven't gone so well, and she has returned to the island, but the spirits of the island are not pleased, and she's trying to reconnect with them and make it up to them. And so this story is filled with that kind of magic of this island, but also a lot of emotional things as she works through what happened to her while she was in the kind of real world and why she left and why she's coming back. So I always love the world building that H.E. Greenblatt is able to put into such a short story, and I really loved the emotional themes. This also has some political commentary that I think is maybe a little bit on the nose, although it makes sense for when this was written. But yeah, I thought this was just a really enjoyable story. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The other story that I read was One Time a Reluctant Traveler, published in July 2020 in Clarkesworld magazine. So this is a story set in a post-apocalyptic world where there is a woman who is trying to go up a mountain to a mythical place in order to deposit the ashes of her loved ones. And so this is all about her journey up that mountain. And it is a rough journey, and it's a journey that everybody has warned her against. And this is really beautiful. I think this is sort of an allegory for really the process of handling grief and generational trauma. It is filled with a lot of things that feel very much like a folk tale, and it is just lovely. I really loved this. It's so heart-wrenching in times, and you feel for this character who's working through this process. There's a lot of layers in this, and I definitely don't think I got all of the layers, but everything that I understood I thought was just really, really wonderful. And I just really liked the emotional depth of this one, as well as sort of this character who's trying to survive in this post-apocalyptic world as things are not great around her. So yeah, I thought the story was excellent, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So those are the stories that I have read so far. I will read a couple more and check in with you once I have. Okay, so I have read a couple more of Greenblatt's stories, and I wanted to check in with you for the last check-in for this vlog. So the first of these two that I read was Give the Family My Love, which was published in February of 2019 in Clarkesworld magazine. This story actually won the Nebula Award for the year that it was nominated, and I can see why. This is such a great story. It is told as a series of voice messages that a woman who is an astronaut is leaving for her brother, and she knows that he won't get these for 6 months. And she's doing this, she's leaving him these messages as almost an anxiety coping mechanism because what she's going through is quite stressful. So she has been sent as sort of an ambassador for Earth along with these aliens, and they're taking her to the library, and she's trying to survive and get there, but it's quite difficult. And so she's all alone, and the stakes are really high. The way that this is written is just so beautiful. This form of voice messages with a sister and a brother. There's so much snark and so much, that kind of sibling interactions, but also so much love. And the way that it talks about what she's trying to accomplish and the stakes and the way that she has to have hope. It's really well written, really funny. I liked a lot of the theming, especially kind of talking about ecological issues and what humanity can do to survive and these sorts of things. It was just beautifully written. I totally see why it won an award. And then the last story that I read was Before the World Crumbles Away, which was published in March of 2019 in Uncanny magazine. So this is another story which is kind of dealing with some ecological themes. It deals with kind of Earth in the midst of an apocalypse. So basically there's huge earthquakes and everything is failing. Everybody knows that the Earth is failing around them. The earthquakes are destroying quite a lot of stuff. And there's this sense of hopelessness. A lot of people are dealing with hopelessness because they can see that there's no future. And we follow two women who end up falling in love and starting a relationship, one of whom is an artist and the other is a scientist. And they're each trying to deal with what they're trying to accomplish and how to have hope in this world that's crumbling around them for the work that they're doing, but also their relationship with each other. Like, does it make sense to build a relationship at this point? And also their relationship with other family members and things like that, and how each person is handling this apocalypse differently. This had a lot of really interesting themes in it, and I liked the relationship between the two women, but it is a little bit of a darker story. There are some content warnings for this, so definitely check out the content warnings in the description box below. But so this was a slightly darker story, but it's still about a question of how do you have hope when the world is crumbling around you? I mean, literally in this story. So it was very beautiful, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, so that wraps up this vlog. I had such a fun time doing this. I have been meaning to read more of A.T. Greenblatt stories for such a long time. I really like her as a writer, and I was not disappointed by these stories. They were all wonderful. And I will have all of them linked below in the description box, so if you want to read any of them, you can just read them online for free. They are really worth your time. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed also the kind of life clips that I've included. I've been grabbing little clips here and there throughout the month as I've been reading. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, if you have any thoughts, any comments, anything that you want to chat with me about, just leave me a comment down below.